Thanks everyone for joining us this morning. Appreciate everyone's good work and I appreciate y'all being here. I'd like to give a special thanks to the trustees who were able to attend the USHE Board of Trustees Summit on October 22nd. I thought it was a great opportunity to learn more about USHE's plans and how all of our institutions of higher learning can better work together as a system, so we can provide our breadth of experiences for all of our students across the state. And it was great to get to meet our counterparts, our trustees at the other institutions, and build some relationships and further those conversations of collaboration together. So it was a good day. Also, just to start, just wanted to say what a great 175th year celebration of this amazing university. I hope many of you were able to go over and attend. I know there have been events all through the year. And Jamie, I'm going to put you on the spot. If you want, could you tell us a little bit about that event?
Yeah, so on last month, we had the culminating event of the 175th anniversary. And as you kind of came to those events, one of the cool things that was prepared by the committee who did this, and a lot of them came through our U alumni, is the big board that chronicled the timeline of this university. And you can see all the different things that have happened over the years. That was at the forefront of the Union building as people came for a celebration last month, a culminating celebration. And as you walk through the Union building, you had an opportunity to see the history of the university. But what I thought was awesome is you had students and you had people from the current university who highlighted all of the great things this university continues to do and contribute to our community. And so I think that the future is bright and we're excited, but it was a great event. It ended with music and a drone show, and it was really a fun night.
It was, I think you had what, 3,000?
Yeah, I don't know the number, but it was packed.
Yeah, so. It was a drone show and they had sets of each of the decades that you'd have your photo taken. I liked the 70s. But it was wonderful, and I loved all of that history. We've got a great history behind us and a great legacy to follow as we head into the next 175 years. So thanks for all of your work on that, Jamie. Okay.
I don't think he's here. Oh, he is. Oh, hey, yeah, can I have Jason Perry come up for just a second? Many of you may not realize, but you are in the presence of an Emmy winner. Oh, wow. You know, live the Emmy life. We need to get you some more Gucci and stuff like that. That is absolutely fantastic. There we go. We'll get out a lot of those, I'll tell you that.
Congratulations, Jason. That's terrific. I'd like to welcome our trustees here and excuse our Executive Vice President of Health Sciences, Bob Carter.
Actually do have
Oh, that's right. Oh, Bob, I've already talked to Bob once this morning. I forgot we were going to see each other again. And I'd also like to recognize TJ Bliss, who's the Associate Commissioner for USHE. Thank you for joining us. Welcome. Thank you. Meeting materials were posted last week. Trustees have had an opportunity to review the general consent agenda. And so any comments on those?
Yeah, I do.
Yes.
Some of you have called me to talk about some of the academic items on the general consent calendar, and I'd simply say this is a great list of things that the faculty senate, academic senate, the provost office, the deans, the department chairs have been working on. We're adding some really important programs. I'm really excited about the advanced substance use disorder treatment training that's coming out of our College of Social Work. We're phasing some things out, and I think it's really a nice model for the system of higher education, that you phase things out, you bring new things in. We're restructuring some things. There's a list of them. Again, I've spoken with many of you about what we're doing and why we're doing. I just wanted to highlight it's important. The the process in which they've gone through at the university to do it is just a stellar example. And I think we're getting to some really, really important results, both for student learning, but also for research and scholarship throughout the university.
Thank you so much. I appreciate the deep dive that you do with your skill set and really making sure, kicking the tires on how we can be efficient and excellent and provide the best product all the time. So thank you, Mandy. Appreciate that.
Can I just make a comment? Our Senate President, well, I believe we'll have time to speak a little bit later, but I just wanted to, you know, the collaboration, I think, top to bottom in terms of getting things through and managing curricular issues has been outstanding, and just wanted to say thank you. It's great. This is when things are moving. It's a great example of how universities work real well. So thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, Randy, for reading so deeply. I appreciate it.
Is there a motion then to approve the general consent agenda?
So moved.
Thank you, Bassam. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Randy. We have a motion and a second to approve the items on the general consent agenda. Any debate or discussion? If not, I'll ask for a vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you for your support on those important items. We'll now transition to our action agenda. And as you all know, the hospital and clinic's annual budget is nearly $3.5 billion, which is a significant part of the U's overall budget. And the trustees have all had an opportunity to meet personally with the hospital's CEO and the CFO to walk through the budget, ask questions and have those answered. But I would now invite Dan Lendergan and Charlton Park to come and present item 3.01 for further discussion.
So before I turn it over to Charles, I just wanted to take a time to extend my appreciation. I also want to take the time to acknowledge our teams at the hospitals and clinics. I think that we want to give them a time of appreciation about what they do for our patients and community. And not only for our caregivers, but also our learners, the teachers, the researchers. We have an incredible multi-mission within the organization, and we're just really there, appreciative, and we're very dedicated to what we do. So I just want to, we'll talk about budget, we'll talk about numbers. We're going to talk about going to a system to the hospital, but I also just want to take a moment to just acknowledge the teams and just never forget about what we're about as an organization. So with that, I will now turn over to Charlton, and I'll be back for the system discussion. So thank you.
Thank you, Dan. I think I'll use my. And as Chair Eccles said, we're looking for formal approval for the hospitals and clinics fiscal 26 budget, and truly appreciate the time we've had with various members of the Board of Trustees doing a deeper dive on this budget leading up to this meeting. And we've also worked with Annalisa so that we're ahead of schedule next go around, make sure this happens before the fiscal year begins. So just clicking through, and I'll move rather quickly just because many of you have seen this before. Hospitals and clinics is a big budget, a lot of leaders, 18,000 employees, FTEs within that. These are the budget owners. I'll point out this includes 4 chairs of the School of Medicine departments, clinical departments, radiology, internal medicine, radiation oncology, and emergency medicine that are actually integrated within the hospitals and clinics budget. And we hope to see more of this as we kind of combine the financials of the health system together to show more of a comprehensive view in the years to come. Our budget is driven by our statistics. Within the hospitals and clinics, there are literally dozens and dozens of different statistics that are tracked for all of our more than 1,000 units that have revenue within them. These are the high-level statistics. The first 2, patient days and discharges, are inpatient, and then our outpatient statistics, visits, and ED visits, and then our surgical cases below. You can see that how we budget for this is we annualize the growth at the time we're building this budget, and then we forecast into the new fiscal year, and that helps us drive revenue projections as well as our expense projections. This just highlights the operating revenue in the new budget. The real drivers of revenue are volume increase, of course, our price increases, contract changes, and then other operating endeavors that we have. Price increases and contract changes. Every year we have our charge master, what we charge for things. There's an increase that occurs within that, which results in new net revenue. We also negotiate with our payers increases on their fee schedules, which will result in additional revenues. And these are the impacts from each of those avenues. And then down below, I mentioned contract pharmacy. That's a big piece of our budget that President Randall and others helped with to get some protections in the legislature. And that's a part of the revenue growth as well. Hospitals and clinics, more than 50% labor. It's a big deal. Our major expense. So the FTE gross, almost 1,000 new FTEs in this budget, and you can see the growth in salaries and wages, the growth related to benefits, and the total impact, expense impact related to labor in this budget. So when you look at all the various kind of budget to budget without the volume impacts, our price net impact is an increase of revenue about 81 million. The change in the contracts is a net impact of about 80 million. And then you can see all the expense impacts between our merit market and our LPA costs increases, the benefit changes, a lot of that coming from the medical costs, funds impacts related to funds flow, and then our non-labor expense impact really related to increased tariffs and supply costs that are hitting the hospitals. This is the eye chart. You can see each of our independent units or entities within hospitals and clinics rolling up to the 8% operating margin we have budgeted for fiscal year 26. That's a $338 million operating margin. You can see how it splits out between the various entities. Again, I'll point out the integrated units, it's about $230 million worth of revenue related to those 4 School of Medicine departments and their clinical activity that is incorporated within this budget. Those who have been a part of our budget and finance committee and the hospital boards, we track our resources generated and commitments to make sure we're balancing and monitoring all the resources we're creating as a health system with the commitments that we have as a health system. So I'll just point out that operating margin here on the resources side of the slide, 338 million, that 8% operating margin. We add back depreciation and our state appropriations and some interest income gets us to just under 500 million in resources we plan to generate in this fiscal year. And then the commitments related to that. Our annual debt services just over 100 million, total capital commitments at 140. The non-clinical transfers to HCI and others at 70 million. And then we have 2 line items down here, cash improvement goal to increase our days cash on hand by 10 days. And then a capital investment fund, which is focused at some of the projects that we have coming on, a use of that contract pharmacy margin that I mentioned earlier. We know that continues to be litigated and is under attack. We don't want to match that margin up with ongoing operational costs, knowing contract pharmacies' future is very uncertain. All right, this slide, another eye chart, it's just a reminder to our teams why our operating margin is so important. An 8% operating margin, you benchmark that with a lot of other academic health systems, you see that near the top. Many academic medical systems are still really challenged with the 1 to 2% operating margins, but we've been able to push ours. We just finished the last fiscal year with a 9.3% operating margin. What this slide depicts is, though we may be on the towards the left related to operating margin, our days cash on hand is still near the bottom, and we have much room to improve there. The bottom slide is the non-operating revenue of various academic health systems. If you're Mass General Brigham or Intermountain, you can survive with a operation at a 1 to 2% margin because you have non-operating income to offset that. Hospitals and clinics needs to continue to drive a high operating margin because those other sources are not currently available. We're also trying to build that balance sheet and increase our days cash on hand at the same time, so we can balance this a little bit. Very quickly, the major impact for fiscal 26, payer contracts and deductions changes. We still continue to have favorable increases with our payers in the market. The U has an excellent brand, and we're able to drive decent increases from our payers that help support the operations. Expense inflation and tariffs, we're seeing increased costs for those non-operating, the non-labor expenses within this budget. Labor impacts, we continue to watch closely. It's a very competitive market. We have had to introduce some additional travelers into our labor pool as a result of that. And then I've mentioned contract pharmacy and some of the challenges there. Major risks and concerns this year, facility capacity, we continue to be bursting at the seams. A lot of talk of capital projects going on, and to alleviate that, that won't happen this year. So we'll continue to look for ways to increase throughput so that we can make the best use of our existing capacity. Anesthesia coverage is a big deal. Nationally, there's shortages in MD anesthesiologists as well as CRNAs. We're creating new incentives and new comp packages to try and attract more, but there is it's a supply and demand thing that we're watching closely. We want to make sure we can keep our operating rooms open and moving. Tariffs we've mentioned. The broad 340B drug discount program continues to be in the news and is a challenge. Good news is it's not a taxpayer-funded initiative, so making cuts to it really doesn't balance anything that way, but we continue to watch it closely. The recent OBBBA congressional Medicaid cuts does impact hospitals and clinics and the broader health system significantly. Those cuts don't begin to impact us until 2028, but we are continue to focus on our financial action plan leading up to those cuts, which will impact the hospital and clinics and the health system ultimately by about $65 million. And then just to really the alignment of our resource adds with our clinical growth, making sure we can keep the engine moving forward. So that's the quick review of the budget. Again, I appreciate the time we've been able to spend, the hours we've been able to spend diving deeper into this and answering some questions. But if there are any other questions, I'd love to address them now.
Maybe you can ask if Dr. Carter has any comments about that.
Dr. Carter, anything to add?
Yeah, I'll just point out to the board that one of the slides that Charlton showed was that on inpatient capacity, inpatient surgeries were slightly down, like 0.6% or something like that, relatively flat. And it's a reflection of the constraint on the overall inpatient and operating room. And so some of the capital set-asides for future inpatient and OR construction are built into this budget because we're trying to alleviate that bottleneck on the inpatient capacity side. And so in future budgets that we would come forward or future approvals that we would come forward to the board would be to seek to help us improve the opportunity for access through increased OR and inpatient beds, basically. So just a little point in the budget there.
Thank you, Dr. Carter. Any other questions?
Charlton, I'd just like to thank you, Dan, and Gina for once again making the process so sensible and spending time beforehand. It made it much more digestible. So thank you.
Thanks, Sam. Those were great discussions. Appreciate that.
Well, thank you. I reiterate what Ms. Sam just said. There's a lot of time for y'all to take with all the trustees for their deeper dive, but so important for us to understand it. So thank you and all the hard work to make it, like you say, digestible. Because there's a lot of work behind even those eye charts. So I look for a motion to approve item 3.01 to approve university hospitals and clinics capital budget for the upcoming fiscal year 26. Motion to approve. Thank you, Maria. We've got a motion. Second.
Second.
Thank you, Jamie, for a second. We have a motion and a second to approve through item 3.01. Any debate or discussion? If not, we'll call for a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
And the motion carries. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Chair Echols. I was also asked to give since we're more than a quarter into the new fiscal year, a brief financial update. So this is the first quarter update for hospitals and clinics, and this will also go quickly. You're looking here at our statistics, the high-level statistics for hospitals and clinics. So I'll point out actual budget, and here's the variance. There's more red in the variance column than we'd like to see. We'd like to fancy ourselves aggressive budgeters, and maybe a little too aggressive with some of these statistics, trying to drive the operation forward. So some small variances related to inpatient stats, outpatient and surgical cases, but you can see the positive year-over-year variances that are still driving forward in the hospitals and clinics across all of these statistics. But then if we flip over to income statement, the revenues are quite strong despite being slightly under budget with the statistics. We can see a positive variance in our revenues in the first quarter of just under 70 million. Expenses related to that are over budget by about 45. If you bring that together through the first 3 months, we're at $109 million operating margin on a budget of 86. So currently operating at a 9.8% operating margin. Again, pharmacy is a big factor that continues to grow and have a lot of success, as well as our inpatient and surgical volumes helping to support these financials. This is an eye chart, again, just looking at each of the units within hospitals and clinics. All of these units, aside from Huntsman Mental Health, which is having some challenges related to the startup of the mental health, the crisis care center, some delayed expenses there. So Huntsman Mental Health is off budget through the first quarter, and the orthopedic center is slightly off budget through the first quarter. All other entities are at or ahead of budget through the first 3 months. And then just to look at our days cash on hand, orient you to this. These are in the gray bars, our days cash on hand. The aqua is our cash level, and then this is the Moody's benchmark, this solid line up here. Here's our goal within the next 3 years to get north of the 100 days cash. Currently, we're sitting at 71. We're still due additional payments from the state Medicaid program, which is about 3 or 4 days cash on hand. It comes down to timing with that, but we're about where we plan to be as far as cash goes through the first quarter. But as I mentioned, about 23 million ahead of budget through the on the income statement through the first 3 months. So good story. Any questions on the first quarter performance? Randy?
On slide, no, I can't read it, the I slide, yeah, that one, you talk about a Huntsman Mental and Behavioral Health Institute being off budget. How within a system, they're gonna lose money every year. and yet we so desperately need them as a society and for the health of so many in our society to expand. How do we do it? How do we balance that? Are there ways to go lower cost? So are we able with stackable credentials coming out of what the university's social work department, college is creating, to do things differently? Is there ways to incorporate AI? But we need access, and we need a penetration of these services to grow dramatically. How do we do it when we're losing money over? Yeah.
Absolutely. You're spot on. Gina Hawley, Dan Munder and I met with HMHI leadership just this week that we've got an ongoing task force focused at just this. What you don't see here, Randy, is the fact that we have Huntsman Mental Health as an entity within our health system reduces costs in all the other areas. So University Hospital is able to take on patients through the ED, and it moves over to HMHI. Without that outlet, they would sit in University Hospital, not necessarily getting the focused care that they need at ultimately a much higher cost to the system. So having it's an essential part of hospitals and clinics, as you mentioned. But are there things we need to do to make improvements there? Absolutely.
And don't get me wrong, we want more, not less. Like I'm just saying, how do we accomplish that when we're losing money? You know, the rest of the system is kind of subsidizing as they should, and yet we'd love them to double if we could.
And it's all of the above. We need to do more of it. We need to do it more efficiently. We need to work with more mid-level providers to be able to expand the access and bring down some of those costs. And then we need to work with our payer partners, including our government payers, in order to increase the reimbursement related to mental and behavioral health care. But there's a lot of focus on it, and we would love, it's been a topic, continuous topic of conversation at the hospital board and budget and finance committee, and we'd love to spend more time later in the future to discuss this.
Yeah, I'll just say, I think that we need to add the state's participation in this. I think this is not just a University of Utah solution. I think this is a state solution. And I think that we need to have more conversations about what that looks like. We take probably a disproportionate burden from that perspective. And you're right, this is a very fundamental issue that we need to get resolved. I think there's a lot of amazing work that's occurring at HMHI. But I think this now needs to broaden up to a state discussion. We have our obligations, we're doing our work. But I think that begs the question of what's the role that we do to expand.
Dan and Charlton, is that the typical approach across other systems in the country, or has someone come up with some clever way of addressing it?
Yeah, I think we're fairly unique. And Gina, we have an outsized mental health program with HMHI as part of our system, which is beneficial. A lot don't and are turning these to maybe insufficient or inadequate providers, or a lot of stuff just goes untreated, which is maybe the worst thing that could happen. You know?
No, I appreciate the question. I think across the country, it is similar. We're all grappling with the same thing. It's good, right? Focusing on the importance of it. A lot of other states have really looked at collaborations with other systems, the legislation piece we're looking to do. But for us here with the University of Utah, mental health is such a huge service for us, whereas in some other systems, they have just reduced it. So we know it's important to us. We're trying to continue to try that while we're looking at reducing the cost and efficiencies.
I'll just highlight that, as Gina mentions, a number of other systems have focused on the more lucrative parts of mental health, but we really try to capture anyone that walks in the door. The crisis center really is defined as walk in with your crisis, and we will sort out the financial elements after the fact. We're trying to serve the entire population. There are ways where you can reduce, certain areas of service, and we're trying to avoid that.
Thank you.
Anything else, Carlton? Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good presentation here.
Thank you for that. And now I'll invite Dan back up to talk to us about amendments to our bylaws for our health system. and the work that they're doing to change us into a system, if I recall.
Yep, thank you.
Dan, do you mind if I give an introduction?
I was just gonna, thank you. I was just gonna do that.
Thank you. Yes, so appreciate the board reviewing this particular initiative. So you just saw a financial report, but you didn't see the financial report of the entire health system, which really includes a very large physician practice and the elements therein and other elements. And one of the things that we had hoped to do over this last year was come together with our board and have the purview of the board, the hospital, the delegated board from the Board of Trustees, the hospital board, really be able to advise us on the entire gamut of patient-facing activities. It's not just hospitals and clinics, which we've historically had, but really the broader look for any activity that touches and interacts with patients. And so that's what Dan is going to highlight here for us in terms of these board bylaws and the process that we've gone through.
Thanks, Dr. Carter. And I want to give some acknowledgement to Dr. Carter. This is his vision to be able to do this and coming in. He came in mid-February and it's just been an incredible support with this. So before I get started, I really just acknowledge, I think, great work behind the scenes. Brittany Harris, Cassidy Samuels has been really instrumental in my office to be able to make this work. Brian Watts out of Phyllis's office has been incredible support with these bylaws. I'll be introducing the board as a whole, but also acknowledge Hope Eccles as being keeping us, making sure the details are there. And I hope to Katie, I really appreciate your support on this as well. I think asking questions and being probing is what makes us better as we go forward. And of course, with Dr. Carter's leadership has really been instrumental. I think I want to also just clear out a couple of points. We're not asking for any increased delegation rights to the system board. So I think that this board needs to know is what's the major changes. That doesn't change. We'll continue to have the medical privileging, quality, safety. So if you're wondering, hey, is this now starting to take more authority? No, it is that maintains. Second point really becomes this is the reporting structure. Currently, it reports up to not only the president, but also the board of trustees to you. So again, no change in that. So I just want to get that cleared out because that may be some things in the back of your mind. You're like, listen, how expansive it is. And just reinforcing what Dr. Carter talked about, really, this is really, taking our system that you help and increasing the scope, providing a much greater streamlining. I think that gets up to the board of trustees. So very comprehensive in that nature. So just making those points right off. So I want to introduce our hospital board. We have an incredible, highly engaged hospital board, soon to be hopefully a system board. Really phenomenal expertise, background. We have new members. We have members been on for some time. So we really have a well-balanced board to be able for you to be able to rely on. So I want to first just acknowledge that amazing board and that just make sure that I introduce them to you. So as we get into the details of this really becomes, as we look at the board leadership alignment, we in the past, the Dr. talked about is that we've been a little bit siloed, not in a bad word, but just different. We've just been different and providing that. So this really provides a nice opportunity to unify the board, get some clarity around where it touches the patient, but we will be looking at some of the research and education as well. Decision making, again, this will allow us some really great examples of that decision making. Is that how do we start making broader budget discussions in the sense of comprehensiveness or master planning? How do we start to align both the school of medicine and the hospital when it comes to the campus master plan? Is that going to be now streamlined? We want to be very, very supportive of that. I think that will be helping that as we look at what buildings and what the master plan is for health sciences. This will end up being a great example of that. And I think the goal alignment, another really, I think, a huge advantage that we're going through right now is how do we start to look at the school of medicine and the hospital as we align our goals within the organization. So this will provide clarity and transparency, which we're very committed to increasing the accountability. Are we at an inflection point, as far as the state and the shift? Yeah, I mean, we need to adapt. We need to adapt quickly and to be able to accommodate some of these both federal and state forces coming out, but also just to continue to accelerate being an extraordinary organization. I think we are phenomenal, and this will end up continue just creating that movement forward as we excel. The societal impact, we certainly have great alignment with the president's goals, and that's something that this also, with alignment with goals, creates better clarity within the organization to be able to do this. And I think that is something that we're very strongly committed to as well. And in the sense of, as we transform, I think this really becomes an opportunity to really commit to this transparency, collaboration, and accountability. So those are the backdrops of why we're doing this as we go forward. The timeline, we've been working at this for some time. As Dr. Carter came in, he really kind of assessed, and, listened, and then started to making some observations saying, listen, I think this really does make sense. So back in June, really started socializing this with the hospital board, moved into socializing with the board of trustees. We went then and more feedback really through the summer, really getting really good information, and then coming to our board retreat, which we then continue refinement, and then a formal vote from our hospital board to adopt into the bylaws to make a system board. So, and then we're here today to be able to have that finalization. So I think what you need to also know that a lot of discussion has occurred, a lot of engagement from key stakeholders within the organization to make this happen. So I think that really becomes important for you to know. So today really becomes an official request for making a motion to adopt us becoming the University of Hospital and Clinics board into a system board, and that motion will be is on the table now. And I'll be glad to open up questions and then turn it back over to Chair Eccles. And then Dr. Carter, anything you want to add that what I just reviewed?
Yeah, no, thanks, Dan. That was a great overview. As Dan said, really, this is an opportunity for us to have the hospital board, which is historically been called the hospital board. It would have actually a new name, which is University of Utah Health System Board, and it would reflect not only the classical hospitals and clinics, but it would reflect all of our professional providers across any activity that interacts with patients and delivers patient care, whether that's in a clinic, whether that's with a provider who is in a partner facility. Just for the Board of Trustees awareness, we have University of Utah practitioners who practice in other facilities. We have over 500 faculty and staff who practice in Intermountain facilities. We have dozens and dozens of staff who are currently practicing in Common Spirit hospitals under various forms of contracts. And this would allow our health system board to have a broader purview over those clinical activities across the gamut. And but at the same time, just maintain the historical delegated authority, both scope and power to this board of trustees. So,
Thank you.
Any questions for Dan or for Dr. Carter? Then I'll see if there's a motion to approve item 3.02, the University of Utah Health System Board bylaws.
So moved.
Thank you, Sam.
Second that.
Thank you, Alex. We have a motion and a second to approve item 3.02 on the action agenda. Any debate or discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Seeing none, it passes unanimously. Thank you.
I really appreciate your support.
And thanks for all the hard work on this. It's a lot of work again behind the scenes to redo the bylaws that way. I'd like to invite Peter Truppa, Vice Provost and Senior Dean for the Colleges and Schools of Liberal Arts and Sciences, to introduce item 3.03.
Do we have a slide on this? Maybe not.
There's a. Is there a handout in everyone's packet or is it just mine?
It's okay, I can easily talk about it. This came before CMP. There it is. This came before CMP last month, so what I want to tell you about is the final phases of the renovation project for the Life Sciences building, which is located just over here in the 14th East alleyway adjacent to the new Crawford Science Complex. This project, majority of the space, will be devoted to the undergraduate research program in the College of Science, the so-called Science Research Initiative. It's a differentiator for the U. It's driving a lot of enrollment interest, especially among first-year students, and it's perfectly with other strategic academic priorities. It's a cohort-based program, which has been demonstrated to have a high impact on year-over-year retention, and increasingly we're grading in career accelerated components with industry partners. Other space in the building will be modular classrooms that are VR, AR ready, not overbuilt for any specific purpose, but very modular in nature. It's about a 40,000 square foot project, and pending this approval, we anticipate an opening in January of 2027. So those are the quick hits on that. I'm happy to answer any questions. And I know Alex had a question during CMP about how students can access the undergraduate research labs. And typically the way that would work is they would register for the Science Research Initiative, and then they would get bench space that they would have sort of full-time access to whenever it works for their schedule. And so a lot of really student-facing access to the research space there for undergraduates.
Anything else? Any other questions? Well, is there a motion to approve item 3.03 remodel of the Life Sciences Building?
So moved.
Thank you, Randy. And a second? Second. Thank you, Maria. We have a motion and a second to approve item 3.03. Any debate or discussion? Being none, all in favor say aye.
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 Motion passed. Thank you so much. Appreciate that. And I guess, and we'll invite Heidi Woodbury up to, as Vice President for Institutional Advancement, to introduce item 3.04. Welcome,
Yes.
Heidi.
Good morning, and I'm here to seek formal approval for some namings within the Spencer Fox Eccles School of Medicine building, and really in recognition of some incredibly generous donors. So first is the ARUP Laboratories Anatomy Suite in recognition of a $5 million gift from ARUP. Can I go through all of them, Katie, or do you want to vote on each one? Okay. Next is the WCF Foundation Wellness Program Suite in recognition of a $1 million gift from WCF Foundation. And then Mark and Kathy Miller Lounge in recognition of a $1 million gift from Mark and Kathy Miller.
Any questions?
Yeah, WCF is Workers' Compensation Fund.
Yes, I think they must prefer to go by that because that threw me for a loop too.
Okay. I'll be clear. Thank you.
Mhm.
Any other questions? Is there a motion to approve item 3.04, the namings in the Spencer Fox Eccles School of Medicine? Kathy, thank you. We have a motion, a second?
Second.
Thanks, Kurt. With a motion and a second, to approve item 3.04, any debate or discussion further? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you so much. We'll just transition now to our reports. I just have an update for my report as a follow-up to work that we did at our March meeting related to the development of our campus master plan. At that meeting, while we didn't approve a full new campus master plan, we did support a broad framework laying out our campus districts and some guiding principles. We also asked the university leadership to go back and take a closer look at a number of things, including existing infrastructure, particularly the Huntsman Center, parking, always parking, dining, shared services, and developing some clear goals and metrics. So since then, I've met with university leaders to follow up on these initiatives, see where they are, and wanted to report back that good progress is being made. A comprehensive traffic and parking study is currently underway. Work is continuing to explore the options for the Huntsman Center. A housing and dining task force is actively at work to see how things will pull together as a system and as part of College Town Magic. And then we're also working to pull all of these siloed reports together to form a comprehensive master plan that incorporates all of the elements of our mission, our academic goals, our research ambitions, our cultural activities, our athletics, our healthcare needs as well. And I just want to take a minute to express my appreciation to our university leadership and to their teams who are doing really good due diligence and taking the time they need to ensure that their recommendations to us will be thoughtful and thorough and aligned with our vision. And they are well aware that completing this comprehensive master plan is an urgent priority for this board. It's critical for us to inform our decisions going forward and to ensure that our capital projects and investments are aligned with our long-term goals. So I appreciate their hard work in that. The Campus Master Plan Committee for this board will continue to prioritize this work with the U team. And the goal is to be prepared to share more detailed information after we get through the first of the year and hopefully be moving to approve a full comprehensive plan, in the spring. So that's where we're moving on that. Wanted to make sure we reported back, following up on the motions you all had approved in March. Any questions on that? Any thoughts? Well, great. In the essence of time today, we are going to forego the remainder of our oral reports. The written reports are all on board docs. I hope you've already taken a look at them. If not, please do. There's a lot of good things going on around this campus and exciting accolades and good progress being made and thoughtful decisions. So please take a look at those for updates on our alumni, our students, our faculty, our staff, and our leadership. And with that, I just, as we kind of come to the end of our meeting, I just wanted to acknowledge the you healthcare workers who are here today and who attended the September 9th meeting to share their concerns. We appreciate you being here and your concerns. We appreciate your commitment to caring for our patients and acknowledge that that's very important work that you're getting done. The issues you've raised about compensation, staff, and personnel are best managed by our U hospital administrators, and I know you're already talking with them to address those. And I encourage you to continue to have those conversations to come to resolution. So thank you for that. Are there any other additional information items today? If not, thank you all for participating today. Reminder, our next public meeting is scheduled for Tuesday, December 9th. And I'll look back at the Alumni House. Yes, this is. And I'll call for a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Thank you, Jamie. Second.
Second.
Thank you, Ms. Elm. And we have a motion and second. All in favor? Any opposed? I didn't think so. Thank you all.